Another live episode of the Undefeated Sports Talk Show. Here with me is Mario Clark. I'm Tyler Hurst. So, man, Scott Frost, hired at Nebraska.
Yeah.
Expected.
Yeah.
I mean, you were calling Brett Bielema.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
So, Scott Frost ultimately came here. We had a very controversial weekend in college football. Ohio State was left out of the playoffs. I know you're very upset at that, and we're going to speak about that.
Yeah.
But first, we have to talk about these championship games because that is what ultimately led to these rankings being put out. And let's first talk about the game that actually caused the controversy. That was Ohio State beating Wisconsin. They beat them 27-21. And to me, the storyline was the running game. How about you?
I'd probably have to say the same. Honestly, to me, the only reason why Wisconsin even kept it close to me was probably because of turnovers. But other than that, if you ask me, if there was no turnovers, Wisconsin would have got blown out.
More than likely, I mean, JT Barrett had that pick six at his own 8-yard line, which that basically brought it into a game for Wisconsin. Otherwise, they could not stop J.K. Dobbins. He had 174 rushing yards on the ground, and then you had JT Barrett 60 yards also on the ground. And then the thing is, what I've noticed with Ohio State, they play these amazing running backs. You played a Saquon Barkley. Now you played a Jonathan Taylor, and both those running backs were held to less than 50 yards. Jonathan Taylor was only at 41 yards at the end of the game, and that was a big story to me.
Yeah, well, I figured coming in because Ohio State has one of the best rush defenses in the Big Ten right now. So most people figured since Jonathan Taylor and Wisconsin's 12-0, they're going to run all over them. No, Wisconsin doesn't play anybody, so therefore they haven't really had true tests of what a good defense would be like. So that's why I feel like the run game didn't do very good for Wisconsin. Yeah. And that's why I feel like they had a strong argument of why they could have made it into the playoffs. They beat a 12-0 team, or 11-0 team. So. And
I'm actually going to get on the committee about Wisconsin where they're ranked at the end of this. We can talk about that because I didn't like that either. But another storyline I could also fight for in this game was the toughness of JT Barrett. Just had surgery 6 days before this game on a torn meniscus. He played lights out, and then Alex Hornibrook looked horrible. So if you compare the two QBs, you'd be like, oh, Alex Hornibrook tore his meniscus. No, it was JT Barrett, and JT Barrett balled out.
Yeah, I don't know if you really think about it. Besides the turnovers, Ohio State literally dominated the field on every aspect. Like they went out there, proved to me honestly that they were a championship team, could get the job done. They just had one hiccup earlier in the season that now we find out is very costly.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when I was looking at the summary of this game, I saw Wisconsin won the turnover battle. They won the time of possession, which they needed to do to beat Ohio State. But at the end of the day, when you have Alex Hornibrook overthrowing wide receivers, throwing in behind them where they can't catch it, and then when you have Jonathan Taylor not having a Jonathan Taylor type game, it ultimately was if you're Wisconsin, you're never going to win if those two guys aren't playing well.
Yeah.
Let's stay in the Big Ten real quick because I do want to talk about Scott Frost. He was just hired by Nebraska. A lot of people are saying they like the hire. Even analysts are saying they like the hire. I don't mind it. My biggest question is he's coming from UCF in a weaker conference. I want to see how he does in a big-time conference in the Big Ten, obviously. How is he going to fare out in that? What are you looking for Scott Frost, or what do you think?
Honestly, I think it's a bad move on Scott Frost's part. I know it's his Auburn Modern, it's hometown. His wife wants him to come here. He's just having a baby. But I feel like you can't let that play into your career. Like you said, the UCF's in a weaker conference, so Big Ten's a Power 5 conference, and I feel like Nebraska's like too broken of a team to just come right in and you feel like you're going to turn everything around. Because honestly, I don't know for sure, but I don't know if he's going to get very strong recruits that won't really want to come to Nebraska over some of these other big name schools or anything. And I just feel like I honestly don't think it's going to be a very, very good season next season for Scott Frost.
See, I mean, that's always a challenge with Nebraska. Is it's one of the hardest schools to coach at in my mind because you can't get the recruits. But thankfully for Scott Frost, he has those Florida ties that he was down there for those 2 years.
Yeah.
Do I think he's going to get them here? I do not because it's Nebraska and a lot of other people want to stay in Florida. Thing is, so he's going to have a challenge there. Scott. The good thing is he has the fans behind him now. The fan base was kind of out of it after this 4-8 season. we got what we wanted. I think Scott Frost can do okay. I'm not going to say he's going to do great.
Yeah.
A lot of people think he can be great, but the thing is, a lot of people want to look at it as, oh, we can return to our national championship form now. Scott Frost's here. Yeah, because he won a national title. That was when Nebraska was good.
Yeah.
And we got the recruits, but now it's a whole nother story, and I don't think we can return to our national title state right there. But I think we can get to a 7-5 season this year, and then eventually get to the 3-loss Nebraska team, return to what Bo Pelini had going.
See, actually, I think the opposite. I think 5-7 this next season. Hey, it's one more win, one less loss. Honestly, that's what I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to tell. I mean, because then basically what you're saying is, I mean, they're gonna beat that one more bad team that they lost to.
Yeah, they'll probably beat Northern Illinois if they play them again.
Yeah, so I mean that's what you're saying. So yeah, like I think they can win that and at least beat a team like Northwestern. If they play Maryland, I think they could beat them with Scott Frost. But then you're still not gonna get past an Urban Meyer in Ohio State. You're not gonna get past a Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. Probably not Mark D'Antonio in Michigan State. You're just not going to get past those teams. And as long as James Franklin's there at Penn State, I don't think you're going to get past him either. No. So that is Nebraska's news. But then we also got to move on to the SEC because Georgia played Auburn in the SEC championship. They won 28-7. Well, I'll just come right down to it. Georgia took care of business on the neutral site.
Yep, they proved Auburn proved you cannot beat the same team twice.
Yeah, so the Auburn proved to me that home field advantage matters.
Yep. In
college football, you beat Alabama by 12. You slaughter Georgia at your own house, but then you go to a neutral site and then you pretty much get slaughtered. That's what happened to Auburn, honestly. But yeah, I mean Georgia won the passing game, they won the running game, they won the receiving game, and they were better defensively as well. Honestly, the entire game Georgia won. But yet people want to sit here and go back to the storyline of Kerryon Johnson. Oh, he got hurt, but that was later in the third quarter, so I feel like Georgia already kind of had control. Yes, it was only 14-7, but still, I think Georgia still would have pulled that off.
See, I feel like one of the main reasons why Auburn lost this game is because they relied too much on the run game. And coming into this game, I'm pretty sure Georgia expected the ball to be ran a lot, even with Kerryon Johnson's injury, which I felt like wasn't smart for them. Like, they have pretty decent wide receivers. Go to the air game, but I guess Jarrett Stidham's not really that good of a quarterback, really. Yeah. So it just Kerryon Johnson takes off the load of him, so he doesn't have to throw a lot. And then when he got forced to throw the ball, it really showed what kind of quarterback he was.
Oh yeah.
So that's probably where they really messed up. You can't really rely on one guy to lead your team all the way.
Yeah, and I thought the first game was all about that Auburn defense and Kerryon Johnson, but this one was clearly about that Georgia offensive line. They had to push. They allowed the Georgia running game to come intact. I mean, their third string had the most rushing yards, 88 rushing yards. I mean, he shut the door late with a 64-yard run. That's ultimately got him to 88, but Georgia's dominated every aspect of this game, and they deserve to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, coming into this game, I did want Auburn to win, but that just showed their performance showed me they rely on one guy too much. So that's why they were not in the playoffs, which is actually probably a good thing.
And Friday we're going to be talking about who they got to face now. UCF. UCF's not going to, in our eyes, they're not going to have a fun time trying to stop Kerryon Johnson.
That'll be actually Scott Frost's true test for him to see if he's actually a good coach.
Oh yeah, easily. So now he's going up against a Power 5 team. These two Power 5 teams, though, faced off in the ACC Championship. Clemson, Miami. One did not look like a Power 5 team. That would be the Miami Hurricanes. We did not see the chain once. Clemson just absolutely dominated, 38-3. It was just domination by the defense and offense. They had, if I look at this right, I mean, at one point, I don't have the exact turnover number. I believe it was 4, but at one point, Miami fumbled, and then Clemson scored right away. And then the next drive for Miami, the very first play, Clemson picked them off. Jeez. And then Clemson went down and scored again. So it's just the combination of that Clemson pass rush, the Clemson secondary, and then when if you give the ball to Clemson's offense with Kelly Bryant, it's dangerous.
Yeah. I agree with you. Hey, sorry guys, dude, this basketball game looks intense. No, but I'll be the first to say I was wrong. I didn't expect Clemson to show up like that. Clemson, just like you said, they just came out, dominated the ball in every aspect, defense and offense. I'd have to say Miami did. I don't know where Miami's talent went. They just I don't know. They just wanted to get good just enough to go to the ACC, then just go back to their regular ways or something. But
I guess because when I'm looking at my stats I wrote down here, Kelly Bryant had 252 yards and a touchdown compared to Miami's quarterback Rozier, who only had 110 yards and 2 interceptions.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe because Miami hasn't been to that such of a big stage in a long time, they just all got cold feet apparently.
Maybe,
but it was just not a pretty day to be a Miami fan.
Yeah, it's plain and simple. And I've always said I like Mark Richt as a head coach, but he always can't win those big games, and that's why he got fired at Georgia, and now it's looking like it could be a problem at Miami. But yeah, that's pretty much the ACC championship. Miami just did not show up. Another team that didn't show up was TCU in the Big 12 championship. Oklahoma played TCU. It was a blowout again, 41-17. Just like many years, most of these championships are snoozers. They're boring, and this one was definitely a snoozer. It was boring, especially going into the second half. Well, not going into the second half, but late in the second half, it got boring. At the end of the day, I just thought Oklahoma was just too good for anybody in the Big 12. I wish I would have seen Oklahoma State play them because I knew they could have kept up offensively, and we knew what the first game was like. It was like 63-56, something like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is with TCU, they're good defensively, but they just don't have enough offense.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Kenny Hill's a two up and down quarterback to beat teams. Like earlier in the season, I was like, man, TCU is the team to look out for in the Big 12. And then after that loss to Iowa State, it just went downhill for them as a team. It's like they just lost all motivation.
Yeah, and not only Kenny Hill, but going to Oklahoma's side, Baker Mayfield, I think he has just locked up the Heisman Trophy. He had 243 yards and 4 touchdowns. And if you have a running back that's turned it around like a guy, Rodney Anderson, Oklahoma's running back, he's done a tremendous job ever since, I think it was 3 weeks ago. I can't remember the team he was playing. I can't think of it off the top of my head, or I didn't write it down. But in the championship game, just this last weekend, he had 93 yards on the ground to help out the passing game. That's exactly what you want out of your running back. And, that's the ultimate point is when you have such a balanced offense, it's good for your quarterback.
Yeah, it was just basically like the first game. Oklahoma just rolled in there, took care of business, and got the job done.
Yeah, and I thought, honestly, TCU, they did a great job in the first half. They were only down by 7. That's exactly what you want to be with Oklahoma. But then after that, it was... They had 2 turnovers. Apparently. Yeah, it turned bad, and ultimately Kenny Hill just has to do too much for that TCU offense, and he can't do it all.
Yeah, it's too bad for him.
Yeah. But another game that happened at the same exact time that I actually ended up watching because the Oklahoma game got boring was UCF Memphis. Interested to see if Scott Frost would win that game. It was actually a 62-55 overtime score. UCF wins. I even knew, and I think we all kind of had an idea that coming into this game, it's going to be nothing but offense. Both these teams hate defense. They don't play defense. I mean, Hilton, UCF's quarterback, had 494 yards and 5 touchdowns. The running back had 113 yards and a touchdown. Memphis' quarterback had 471 yards and 4 touchdowns, and the running back had 109 yards and a touchdown. Offense.
Yeah, offense. Apparently for these guys, offense wins championships.
Yeah, the total yards was I have the total yards is Memphis 753, UCF 726.
Jeez, it was a pretty intense game to watch if you guys watched it. I actually did think Memphis was going to pull this one off, only because I just feel like Memphis was a sleeper team to me in the American Conference, but Scott Frost and UCF did get it done. It was a pretty exciting game, actually, believe it or not. A lot of good plays and no defense, like you said, but I think Memphis is probably going to be one of the better teams in the American Conference actually next season.
Oh yeah, especially if they keep Mike Norvell. If he doesn't go to Arkansas, I think they're going to stay where they're at. And also, when I was looking at this game, both these teams, they both had 32 first downs. They both were similar in time of possession, both similar in points, and all this. The only real difference was that UCF had those 2 turnovers, and Memphis could not capitalize. They had those 2 chances at the end to win with the field goals. Field goal was just out of his range, and he just wasn't having a good day. And ultimately, Memphis, they didn't capitalize, and they lost.
Yeah, it's honestly they're actually pretty similar teams if you watch them play. Like both basically have running quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Both running backs are pretty good. Receivers obviously can catch the ball. It was honestly like watching the same team play, like you said, just couldn't capitalize on the turnovers at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And then just double OT, man. That was fans got their money's worth. They got one heck of a game at the end of the year.
Yeah, and UCF fans really got their money's worth because now you get to go to New Year's Six Bowl. You get to play Auburn. Good luck, but hey, you never know. They could pull it off.
Yeah, anything can happen.
Never know. But if Hilton's going to throw 4 interceptions against Auburn, you ain't going to capitalize coming back against Auburn. So you can't do that.
Yeah.
But another really good game that we enjoyed watching was Stanford against playing USC on Friday night. USC actually won 31-28. If this game was played on Saturday, I believe this would have been the best game by far. Played on Saturday. It was just an outstanding championship. Sam Darnold, he pulled it off, though. Honestly, he played better than I thought he would. He had 325 yards and 2 touchdowns. Costello, on the other hand, with Stanford, I said coming into this game, obviously he's not as good, but he didn't do bad. He had 192 yards and 2 touchdowns. But really, the storyline to me was the running backs. Bryce Love, 125 yards and a touchdown. Ronald Jones, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. That was the storyline coming into the game, and it was the storyline after.
See, honestly, to me, I feel like it was the offensive line for Stanford. Stanford's offensive line could not keep the pocket alive for I can't think of his name. Costello enough to get out of there and find his receivers all the time. Like I think he got sacked about 4 times that game.
Yeah.
But he basically had no time in the pocket. Always had to run out, find the open guy, basically extend the play a little bit longer than it had to be. But if his offensive line, honestly, they only lost by 3. So if his offensive line could have blocked for a little bit longer, he probably would have found another receiver, and then extended the play, maybe force this game to OT or even get the W. Yeah. They could have won. It was just simple mistakes that could have been fixed.
Yeah, and Stanford. To me, they just ran out of time. I mean, USC, they had a chance to stop USC on a 3rd and short, and USC pulled off that little play to the fullback, and they won the game ultimately off that. But I just thought the effort showed by both of these teams. It was great to watch. It was something that you look forward to going into a championship and what you actually want to watch on live television.
Yeah.
But what was not so agreeable was this college football playoff. The rankings actually came out Sunday around, I'd say, 11:30. And the committee decided to put Alabama at number 4 and Ohio State at number 5. And this is what caused the whole uproar. And USC was not even talked about. That concerned me, and I did not like that. But here we go. I'm going to go ahead and give the rankings. It was Clemson 1, Oklahoma 2, Georgia 3, Alabama at number 4, Ohio State at number 5, Wisconsin 6, Auburn 7, USC 8. So if you had an 18 playoff, obviously Auburn, USC, and Wisconsin would be in, but obviously that's not it, and I think it's going to stay at a 4 playoff team. But do you want to go first, or do you want me to answer this?
You can go first.
All right, I'll tell you first here. I think the committee made the absolutely right decision. I think if you want the 4 best teams in college football, then you obviously go Alabama over Ohio State. Because if you put them head to head, who are you choosing to win that football game? I know you're biased.
As of late,
you're just
as of late,
talent wise.
As of late,
who are you choosing to win that football game?
Talent wise,
yes.
Not even because of my team.
Decision.
Not even because of my team. Quarterbacks. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Jalen Hurts.
You're taking Jalen Hurts over.
Yes.
You're taking a sophomore quarterback over a senior.
They're both not that good, but I am taking Jalen Hurts.
All right. Okay. Who are you taking? Are you taking Damian Harris or
Damian Harris any day of the week? Calvin Ridley any day of the week?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
It was just I don't know. It was
80% of the U.S. would say Bama would beat Ohio State. And then I know the committee's not supposed to look at it, but Ohio State last year played Clemson in the semifinal. They got shut out 31-0. This year would be worse.
No,
I know it's because I know you're going to say because Deshaun Watson's not there and Ohio State you feel like's better. But no, Ohio State is the same team. Clemson's defense is lots better.
Well, Ohio State's defense isn't as good as it was last season.
Yeah, so it'd be a worse score. I think it'd be somewhere around 38-0. So when you're thinking of that, you want the team that you know is actually going to contend with Clemson in the playoffs, so you get people to watch. And it's Bama. It's Bama.
But people are tired of seeing Bama in there. Bama didn't even play in the championship game at all.
I get it.
So and I feel like it's unfair because Ohio State went out there, beat an undefeated team in a hostile crowd, and got the job done. And Bama's sitting at home watching TV, just, if we win, we automatically in, which is unfair. Which is unfair for any team that actually had to play and go through that. I can understand if Bama had to play a game to see if they could get in.
I mean,
and
it's the first time ever a non-conference champion and a team coming off a loss is in there. But I think the committee did what I did. They go subjective, and when you go head to head.
Yeah, I feel like you can't look at that. I feel like they should go off the last 2 games of the season.
Yeah, but then you're saying every game does not matter. And you're saying, Ohio State losing to Iowa by 31 did not matter.
All right, but then that's like saying that Mercer game would have made or break Alabama.
But that's just like every other team putting weak teams at the beginning. Alabama just did at the end. Alabama played Florida State, who had a DeAndre Francois at the time.
Yeah, but now Florida State doesn't even make it to a bowl game at all this year.
Yeah, but that's because they didn't have DeAndre Francois.
But they should take that into consideration.
They should. I mean, that's the biggest issue is they're saying Ohio State had the tougher schedule, and therefore they should be in. But if we're talking about tougher schedule, USC should be in. They had the toughest schedule out of every single playoff team. They had the toughest schedule. They ended up winning the Pac-12 championship, so why are they not in it if we're talking about toughest schedule?
Because they're in the Pac-12. Pac-12's the
weakest. That shouldn't matter.
Pac-12.
Washington got in last year in Pac-12. Then they got hammered.
But Washington also won the Pac-12 last year, though.
So did USC. They just won it this year.
All right, but
the argument is hard.
Well, I feel like Ohio State deserves to be in there. It's 2 years ago. We should just do this. 2 years ago, Ohio State beat Oregon at their best, and they beat Bama when they had their best player.
That's when they had Ezekiel Elliott, though. They had a star player.
They have a star player now. It's just
the thing is with Ohio State this year, they're so up and down. What if you get the Ohio State against Clemson? Who wants to watch that game? That's a sleeper.
Hey,
that's a sleeper.
Or what if you get the Ohio State versus Penn State? Then you know you're going to be in for a heck of a game.
Of that happening with Bama, Bama and Nick Saban, they're all going to be healthy. All right, they're projected to get a starting linebacker back now. You know they're going to show up against Clemson.
All right, what if you get the Clemson? What if you get the Bama versus Auburn? Then you know you're in for a boring game.
But that's the argument I've made. Is yes, Bama did lose to Auburn, only by 12.
And then
Georgia got blown out by Auburn by 31 or so. Next thing you know, you play on a neutral site. Georgia smacked Auburn. So how are you going to take that Alabama loss that hard in Auburn? If you put Auburn, Bama on a neutral site, who you choosing?
Auburn, Bama on a neutral site?
Yeah.
How close is it to Auburn?
It's exactly where Georgia and Auburn played. It's in Atlanta. Yeah, exactly. You're choosing Bama. Bama's favored to win this national title again now that they made it playoffs. They're favored to beat every single team.
No one wants to see that except Bama fans. No one wants to see the same team winning every year.
But
year in, year out. You put Ohio State in. There's 2 SEC teams in there. You know what that means? This is going to be the playoffs finals. Georgia versus Bama.
Well,
I guarantee it. I guarantee
the regular season.
I guarantee it. The SEC championship.
The SEC is the best conference.
No, that's how it's going to end up. That's how it's going to end up. You put 2 SEC teams in there. They're obviously going to meet up to each other.
Well, because they're the best teams in college football.
You put Ohio State in there. Ohio State's in the
No,
championship.
they're not. It's because you are an Ohio State fan, so you automatically think Ohio State's the best team in college football, but they're not. Bama would beat Ohio State in the head-to-head on a neutral field.
Not this year.
Not
this year.
Please.
They're playing with too much heart. It's JT Barrett's senior year. He's got a lot riding on this one. Everybody at Bama that's good or still have another year, or they can choose to go if they want to.
No, they could go easily, but I don't know. Bama's the better football team. I know.
Honestly, I feel like the committee was very biased with this one. They were like,
they are. I mean, if I was in the committee, I'd almost favor Bama because you feel obligated to put them in there.
Yeah, see, and that's not right. You gotta have an open mind with every team.
Yeah, but then again, I don't look at that. I look at Ohio State lost to 31 against Iowa. Every game should matter, and Bama lost to an Auburn team in Auburn that Georgia just smoked Auburn on a neutral site. Georgia got beat by Auburn in Auburn by 31, so that doesn't really tell you much about Bama. So you lost in Auburn. It's hard to play there. Auburn did not lose there.
All I'm seeing is Bama lost to a team that got basically shut out in the conference championship.
Yeah,
that's all I'm seeing.
That's
all I'm seeing. All I'm seeing is Bama got beat by a team that could only put up 7 points against Georgia.
But then you're disregarding that Georgia got smacked at.
Hey, that was earlier in the season. That's why they should go off the last 2 games.
Bama played Auburn at a neutral site. Bama's winning that football game.
But they didn't, so they got beat by Auburn.
Exactly. So then you put Bama on a neutral site in the playoffs.
This is what you do. You put Ohio State in there.
Oh.
You put Ohio State in there. Bama at 5. Bama remains 5. Ohio State jumps up, gets in, faces Clemson.
I don't see it.
But fans are going to be really disappointed when Bama gets blown out by 50.
I don't have anybody beating Clemson, so I think Clemson deservingly got the number 1 spot after slaughtering Miami.
Yeah, I don't know how they got the deserving number 1 spot. They lost to Syracuse. Does the committee forget about that? It doesn't matter It doesn't matter the circumstances in that game. Every loss counts. Remember?
Yeah,
every loss counts.
But
JT Bear was battling a meniscus injury the whole season.
That's not taken into consideration. That's fine. They still deserve it because the committee. You still have to take into account for your starting quarterback got injured.
JT Bear is battling a knee injury this whole season. Nobody takes that into consideration. Kelly Bryant gets hurt 1 game, loses.
But JT Bear is still playing in those games. Yes, he was.
All right, that shows toughness of character right there. That means he can push through anything.
That's fine. Doesn't mean you're in the playoffs.
It should.
Kelly Bryant
gets injured.
Bryant matters to Clemson.
Yeah, which is bad.
Ohio State doesn't. JT Bear does it.
Which is bad. That shows you if one player goes down, your team's not good. Ohio State, if JT Barrett goes down, Dwayne Haskins comes right in. Ohio State keeps it moving.
That's fine though.
So that's what playoffs should look at.
Kelly Bryant is
Kelly Bryant is the team.
In the country.
Kelly Bryant is the team.
It's the offense.
Take Kelly Bryant out of there. Clemson's just a nobody team.
But if you look at the last 5 games. What has Clemson done to teams? They have absolutely.
Who have they faced the last 5 games? That's the thing. If it's not a top 10 team, it doesn't matter. If it's not a top 10 team, it doesn't matter. Ohio State beat a top 4 team, but nobody's talking about that. Ohio State beat a top 4 team. No one's talking about that.
The thing is, you can't say Ohio State can even be ahead of any of these teams.
They can be ahead of Wisconsin.
Well,
Wisconsin was the 4th spot, so they should just flip-flop.
No.
Yep, that's how it goes. They could be ahead of Wisconsin.
Bama's the better football team, though. Overall, from a talent standpoint, Bama's better.
Yeah, but I feel like
better coach, better players.
Well, that's debatable.
Better defense.
Debatable.
Oh, please.
Debatable.
All right, well, OU got the deserving 2nd spot with their Heisman candidate, Mayfield. Georgia got deservingly the 3rd spot, which they got. But what I did not understand was the team Ohio State now has to play USC. USC ended up 8th. I thought they should have ended up 6th. You have the toughest schedule out of all these playoff teams. And you win the Pac-12 championship. How does Wisconsin still end up ahead of you? They had the weakest schedule in top 10. And how did Auburn, a 3-loss team, end up ahead of you? I don't understand. I thought USC should have even been in this conversation. I think they should have been 6.
Like me, the committee knows Pac-12 is the weakest conference of the Power 5. Pac-12 can't honestly beat anyone outside of the Pac-12, and Washington proved that last year when they made the playoffs. And Penn State beat USC last year in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, but
so that means Pac-12 is really it's really not a Power 5 conference. They just consider it because of the past of the Pac-12. But the last 2 years, Pac-12 is not very good. So I actually do agree with USC being ranked 8th only because Pac-12's not very strong.
Yeah, but then you're disregarding a number 2 overall pick, Sam Darnold. You're disregarding their last 5 weeks, which they have just dominated teams. You're disregarding
not
what they're
dominated
doing.
Pac-12 teams. They haven't beat anyone outside of the Pac-12.
That's fine. That's fine because you don't know because they don't play them late into the season. Put them into the playoff and you see what they're really about.
They get what happened to Washington.
Well, we're really going to see what they're about against Ohio State.
All right, and once Ohio State puts up 56-10, 56-10 against USC, we'll understand why they didn't get on the championship or the playoffs.
I at the end of the day, the committee to me made the right choice. They made the right choice.
They made the right.
They should have made USC a higher ranking.
They made the right choice, except they should have flip-flopped Bama and Ohio State. So I agree with everything except Bama at 4. So Bama should have just stayed 5, looking in. Ohio State.
At the end of the day, I think they gave the fans the best football games.
In the end, I think they just Nick Saban cried to the committee and then just got what he
wanted.
wanted.
The best college football coach. You can do anything.
Yeah. When you have a lot of money for the football committee, you can do anything.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Undefeated Sports Talk. Make sure you subscribe to our page, hit that like button, give us a shout-out. Follow our Facebook page at Undefeated Sports Talk Show. It's simple, folks. Give us a subscribe. We get a better studio. And, hey, more subscribers is always better. We always going to stay heated. It was just me and Mara today. Friday, we have all of us here. Bowl game predictions for college football. But coming up in about 2 minutes, NFL takeaways. What we thought about and that Gronkowski hit. I did not like that. I got a couple words to say about it. Stay tuned.